Hello guys, once again it's Matt, and today we have another video. Thank you all the members, all the patrons, make sure to subscribe. We are trying to hit 50,000 subscribers until the end of the year, so help me out there. And let's get going. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the passage to development, or developers actually, suggestions that were passed, specifically the J-10A. So if you noticed, I will leave this post in the description. They have this post that they basically get these additions and get a list of aircraft or vehicles in general, or even other stuff that can be considered for addition to the game by the developers. So they accepted the J-10A. Doesn't mean that it's coming or anything like that, but it is an interesting fact. I wanted to make a video talking a little bit about it, and specifically why the J-10A might even be a good option to be added right now for China. Not that they need, of course the F-16A Block 20 is plenty of an aircraft to actually be, you know, the main fighter of it, but I think the J-10 has a very specific thing to it that could make it, I don't know, worth it to be added like right now, in the next patch, you know? So let's talk a little bit about it. Of course we had the confirmation of the Gripen and stuff. I'm not gonna get too much into that. And of course I already did a lot of videos talking about it and aircraft that can come due to that, and the J-10 might be one of those coming later this year to counter this type of aircraft. But I have another option, because we have two major options for the People's Republic of China to be added to the game. I think one of them obviously is the Su-27SK or the J-11A, right? Specifically because a new addition as a J-8 with pulse Doppler or anything like that, it is not going to change too much in the gameplay wise. I mean, it's still going to be a J-8. It will still lose for most of the 4th generation aircraft. Doesn't matter too much what it gets, it will still be inferior to those, right? But these new aircraft that are going to be added and are being added right now, 4th generation stuff, it brings more options to the table. On one of them, as I was saying, it was the Sukhoi. It is the Sukhoi. Of course, that would be needing to be added together with the normal Su-27S for the Soviets, for example, and of course the F-15s that a lot of nations could get it, like Japan, Israel, the US. So yeah, a lot of countries can have that. So obviously, if they are going to add the Su-27SK or something like that, the J-11A, an aircraft, the other Su-27s and the other F-15s need to be added as well, right? But there is the J-10A that was accepted for consideration. What is the J-10A? Well, the J-10 is basically a very big leap. Like, it's a very, very big leap to the technology that the Chinese had back in the day. So if you remember, in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, the aircraft that they were producing were not 4th generation. They were producing just J-7s, some J-8s, the JH-7, Q-5, aircraft like that. That were successful in their own way, but they were limited. They were nothing compared to something like a MiG-29 and Su-27, F-15, 16, 18, F-14 even. So they needed something better, and the J-10 was that, together obviously with the Su-27SK that was bought from Russia, and later the J-11, but at the same time period of the 90s, right? But the J-10 was a domestic design that got developed inside China together with the helps of other systems from other nations. Like they say that it was based a little bit on the Lavi. They say that the radar was based off of the Zook radar. So it was technically a semi-PESA radar with the vertical scan being done electronically. The engines were Russian. So there was a lot of, I mean, even the missiles, initially the Aspide missiles apparently were going to be able to be used. I mean, they were technically Sparrows, right? But Italian Sparrows, right? So a lot of integrated. PL-8 was the main IR missile. So yeah, PL-8 is a Python, right? So a lot of these systems were, yes, they were foreign made, But it was a big leap on the development inside that they can actually produce this aircraft from the start, from the zero, you know? So yeah, it is an aircraft that has a lot of these iconic, you know, technology-wise, leap forward kind of line of thinking on the Chinese. So that would be very cool to have it, because it would be a more unique aircraft to have it. And what the aircraft is and the performance of it, it is not too much like, it's not a big change from what we have right now in the game. Yes, it is a 2005 entering service aircraft, so yes, it is a lot more modern than the other ones, but that can be kept with some stuff. For example, the weapon systems. So let's talk about the performance first. The performance of the aircraft would be very similar to what we see. The empty weight was around 8 tons, so it was around 3 tons less than a MiG-29. So it is a very, very light aircraft. It has the Liuka AL31 engine, which is the engine of the Su-27, so a very strong engine, but only one. So with that, you can have a very good power to weight, most definitely above 1.0. So most of the aircraft have that already, the F-16, the MiG-29, you know. Most of the top tier main aircraft, of course. Tornado doesn't have that, the Mirage doesn't have that, but still, the Vegan doesn't have that, but still it's good enough, you know, because the other aircraft, the MiG-29s, the F-16s, they have that, right? 300 meters per second of climb, so okay, you know, same as the other ones. So in the performance wise, it's probably going to turn a little bit better than the other aircraft that we have in game, but not by too much as well. And I think it would be a little bit weaker maybe in the acceleration compared to the MiG-29 or something like that. So it is indeed a very modern aircraft, and they need to be careful if they're going to add it, because it might tip the balance towards the Chinese a lot. But looking at these stats, the performance would be very similar, maybe a little bit better in some areas, maybe a little bit worse in others, in the performance-wise against these other 4th generation aircraft that we already have. Another thing is the radar. The radar, it's supposed to be very similar to what we see in the Zook radar. So, around 100 and something kilometers of range, nothing too crazy, wouldn't be that big of a deal. And then we have the balancing factor, the weapon systems. Of course, uses the GSH 23mm, same gun as the MiG-23 or 21. But the missile systems, they of course are more advanced. You can carry the PL-12, for example, that was a missile compared to the AIM-120 and R-77. We are not quite there yet, right? But according to some sources, it can carry the Aspide missile, so that would be an option to actually be not that OP. Of course, the PL-8 would also be a very powerful missile, which is the base missile for that. I don't think it would completely break the game, specifically because of the layout of pylons. The J-10A, it has 6 pylons. 4 of them were normally used for for radar missiles, and 2 of them for IR missiles. So if they're going to use 4 Aspides and then 2 Python 3s, right, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. I think it would be okay. It wouldn't be like a complete OP aircraft, right? It would be a light aircraft that can have a very good missile, but it doesn't have a lot of them, so it's pretty alright. It's like the MiG-29 with the R-27ER, right? It's pretty OP, that missile, and yeah, it can kill people from 60 kilometers every single match, but it's just 2, so it kinda caps a little bit, you know? So, and of course, if you can carry the Python 3, you most likely can carry the PL5s, so it probably can, right? I mean, you would imagine so. Hard to find information on it, because the Python 3 or the PL8 was the main missile from the 2000s there that the Chinese used as an IR missile, but still, I think you would be able to, right? You wouldn't like say that they just made up an aircraft that cannot use some of the missiles that they have on their arsenal. So you can guess, obviously it needs to do research, and it's hard to do research on it, but still, if you can carry the PL5, maybe an all-aspect version of the PL5, together with the Aspide, I mean, not a very OP aircraft if you ask me, only 6 missiles, the performance being very close to the other ones, even with a very incredible radar. I mean, we already have the Zook with the Ak-41, so yeah, it wouldn't be that big of a deal, I think. And that's the reason why I think the J-10A could be added right now in the next patch without breaking the game. And it would be very cool because it is a domestic design, you know, it's a different aircraft. It's not going to be the same as everything else. And yeah, it's, of course, as I said, it's not like China needs a new thing on their top tier tech tree. But at the same time, the only other option that we see, I mean, the FCK would probably be inferior to what we have. And then we have the Su-27. But I don't think we're going to have the Su-27 coming that soon anyway. So yeah, and of course later you can receive the PL-12 Fox 3 missile. You can receive more advanced variants of it with better radars and better missiles and more missiles and stuff. So we can actually fight the 4++ generation aircraft if we ever get to that. So the possibilities on that aircraft are very good, and I think, yeah, the J-10 would be a very, very cool aircraft. But let me know in the comments what you think about it. Do you agree that the J-10 should come first before the Su-27SK or J-11? Or do you think it's too advanced for now and it should be coming later? What do you think? Do you think China needs a new aircraft like that? Leave it in the comments. Click the little bell icon, click the like button, and I see you guys on the next one. Subscribe. See you guys. Bye.